Good morning and welcome to AusCERT 2020 Day 2. Just to remind everyone of the general housekeeping, if you have any issues with the platform, just make sure you're not using Chrome to start with and refresh your browser if the video freezes. It's a pretty common problem that people seem to have been having, but hopefully it doesn't persist too badly today. Our first session this morning is a pre-recorded session, but there will be a live Q&A at the end of it. So make sure you actually use the Q&A panel. And I guess to go from there, first of all, I guess I should tell everybody, if you don't already know me, my name is Valdemar Jacobson. I work for Tobruk Security in Brisbane. And this morning, in our first session, we have Mandy Turner, who runs the CSOC at the University of Queensland and previously has been in many roles as an intelligence analyst and all over the place. And as an ex-colleague of mine, absolutely wonderful person. And she'll be talking today about cybercrime and all of the fun and games that come along with it. Anyway, let's have a look at Mandy's presentation.
In keeping with the We Can Be Heroes conference theme, I welcome you to this superhero comic-inspired presentation on cybercrime. And while I'm sure that there will be some of you who say, I've heard all this information before, this is nothing new, this isn't technical, I want to pose a question to you. If everybody already knows all this information and applies this information every day, why is cybercrime still a problem? I truly believe we need to think outside the box, and in this case, the comic book borders, and think about our responsibilities as end users of technology and what we can all do to become cybercrime fighting superheroes and what we can all do to help others fight cybercrime. Join me in my comic book adventure. What's a good comic without an Inside This Issue page? So in our comic book, we're going to look at common cybercrime types impacting Australians at the moment. And obviously there'll be some COVID-19 themed scams in there. We'll look at who commits cybercrime. Is it a hacker in a hoodie? We'll discuss why there is no solely technical solution and look at why people are still falling victim to cybercrime. And of course, how everyone can be cybercrime fighting superheroes. So, the hoodie wearing hacker. Let's stop for a moment and have a think about that. Is there a supervillain in a hoodie hacking you right now? Let's leave the hoodie wearing hackers to the movies. It's a really unhelpful image because it can make people feel really hopeless and fearful that there's this arch nemesis there that is a super villain that knows all sorts of things that they don't know, that they can never help themselves and never support themselves to be protected from this. What we need to ensure people understand is that cybercrime is not perpetrated by shadowy, hooded supervillains, but criminals. Cybercrime is perpetrated by many different types of people. Cybercrime is big business. There are huge organised criminal businesses that devote themselves to cybercrime. There are huge organised criminal businesses that have lots of different nefarious activities going on that help fund their projects with cybercrime. Cybercrime is big business. There is no supervillain in a hoodie. Cybercrime is an umbrella term, and in Australia it can describe crime both against technology and crime enabled by it. Cybercrime can run the gamut from someone trying to make a political statement, for example, in hacktivism, all the way down to cyber espionage, huge criminal organisations. Mischief makers could be people that are grooming young children so that they can create, sell and transmit child exploitation or child abuse material. Cybercrime could be cyberbullying. It could be investment scams. There could be unauthorized crypto miners on websites. That's also cybercrime. And lately, who hasn't seen the Zoom bombers? So cybercrime is huge. It has all different types of crime activities. But I don't see hoodie wearing hackers in that. The stereotype of the hoodie wearing hacker is harmful. We really need to stop that. Let's think about this as these are criminals perpetrating crimes. On this very colourful page of our comic, we can see that cybercrime refers to all sorts of activities, and they're all extremely broad. Just as I discussed in the other slide, there can be things such as child exploitation material, there can be things such as cyberbullying, and all the types of cybercrime. Business email compromise and invoice scams, phishing, vishing, and smishing, because I really like a good rhyme, spreading hate, inciting hate, 419 scams, sextortion scams. You know when there's an email that says, I've hacked your computer and I have you on video doing something dodgy, and I'll prove that I've been in your computer because I have your password, and they quote a password or an email address or a phone number that they have had from some data breach years and years ago to prove that they're in your computer. And then they say, if you pay me whatever the going rate in Bitcoin is these days, I won't send that compromising video to your friends, your family, your boss. Sextortion scams. Website defacements. Malware, ransomware, trojans, keyloggers, whatever. Child exploitation abuse material. Identity theft, that is also a cybercrime matter. Romance scams. Denial of service. And of course, let's not forget tech support scams. So what makes cybercrime successful? So if we're looking at scams or criminals encouraging people to download malware, for example, what makes it so successful? Criminals are really, really clever at reading and using situations and manipulating people. They are like the con artists of old that sold the Eiffel Tower to the unsuspecting tourists. They are innovative and they just keep evolving. But remember, a lot of criminals behind cybercrime are actually part of huge businesses, and these businesses hire psychologists and they hire coders and they hire all sorts of people which help them innovate and evolve. And because their money is coming from criminal activities, they often have far more money to spend on this than we do. So their research and development, lots of money. Our research and development, not so much. So you can see why cybercrime is big business and it's hard for us as good guys to keep up. The Europol stated that cybercrime, in fact, is more profitable than the drug trade. So it is huge. Criminals upgrade malware, change malware. They can improve it really, really fast and exploit vulnerabilities as soon as they're found. It is really hard to keep your tech configurations, your patches, and your awareness campaigns up to date, particularly if your business or your organization or your school has a very small budget, like a lot of people these days, and then they're going, well, we have an awareness campaign that we bought 3 years ago. That's all we can afford to use, so that's all we're going to do. That's going to be out of date. And so that is a real struggle. We also have an increased reliance on internet and interconnectivity in our world. Everything we have is connected to the internet. We have several game consoles at home. They're all interconnected. The television is connected. I know some people that have their coffee pot connected. So we are reliant very much on interconnectivity. It is very hard to escape the cyberspace these days. And then there could be areas where children or other vulnerable groups may lack appropriate guidance about online dangers, or may be in a position where they just don't realise that something could be dangerous online. Criminals take advantage of distractions. They take advantage of human distractions, particularly, for example, at the moment, the global pandemic. It is a massive distraction, and criminals are really taking advantage of that. So if we look at email as a mechanism to either fish for information or steal information or trick someone into paying an invoice or trick someone to install malware, if we look at email as a mechanism of this cybercrime, what makes email so successful as a vector for this? There are three things that I can really see, and I often talk about, is that phishing or tricking emails, scamming emails are believable, they play to emotions and the false sense of security of the recipient. So they are believable because they spoof trusted brands or trusted people. For example, with the COVID-19, there have been emails that people have reported that say, from your HR department, important coming back to work information, COVID-19. That is believable. It's about everyday topics. So it could be about the post you're waiting to be delivered, payments you're waiting to have, penalties, tax penalties. It relies on emotions. So subjects lines are designed to make you feel fearful or make you feel this is very urgent. I need to look at this. I need to deal with this now. And when a person has that kind of feeling, they might not necessarily stop and think. So it's playing to emotions. Or it could be cajoling you to do the right thing. Click that link, fix that payment. You know, we want to do whatever. We want to help you. We want to give your television streaming service back. Just click that link. Give us your credit card details, your date of birth, your mother's maiden name. And a false sense of security. So end users, including ourselves, because we are all end users, may sometimes believe that technology such as our spam filters will be able to block all malicious emails. Therefore, the emails we receive are fine. There also could be an overconfidence in one's abilities to spot scams. I have worked in cybercrime and cybersecurity for a very long time, and I am still not overconfident in my own ability to spot scams because scams are really, really clever. So these three things can make scammy emails successful. They are believable, they play to emotions and the false sense of security that someone may have. And while we're talking about cybercrime being successful and playing to emotions, let's have a look at some examples that have happened in the last few months. Global distraction is COVID-19, and these are just a very, 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 very infinitesimal amount of examples that I can show you from the world that have people have received these. So there's text messages, smishing. You've received a message regarding the COVID-19 safety line symptoms and when to get tested. There have been all sorts of variations on this. You have to visit this link. So you visit the link and then that link asks you for information. This one in particular wants your credit card details, your name, address and date of birth. So it's pretty easy what they want there. They want to steal your credit card information. This one is an important message from Westpac, apparently. If you go to that link, they ask you to log into your Westpac account. So obviously you're not going to go into your actual Westpac account. You're just giving the criminals your bank account details. This one is due to the coronavirus pandemic worldwide, Netflix is giving some free pass to their platform. This is awesome. Click that link, just put your Netflix details in and give it all to the criminals. So these are really very believable. You'd have to, think twice and go, hang on, is that legitimate? They certainly play to emotion there. Then we have scams here. Update list of new cases around your area. You are immediately advised to go through these cases to avoid potential hazards. Now, this type of email has been seen many, many times, different iterations. But this one in particular that I saw actually downloaded malware onto your computer. I have seen others very, very similar with almost the same words that were phishing sites. So criminals tend to use the same script, but change it up to how they want. And then we have it's kind of like a business email compromise. It's a payroll scam where, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, they want to change their bank account to a bank closer to home. I need this information to update my direct deposit. So they pretend to be an employee, they contact the HR department and get the pay changed to the bank account of their choice. HR do that for them, and then the criminal pockets your wage instead of you. And then, of course, we have this one. I'm reaching out to you as my only hope. This is kind of like the so-called 419 scam in a way. But this is quite interesting. I don't know if one would really be fooled by this if you knew what an iTunes gift card would give you, because they're saying they're stuck in quarantine and they need something to get their everyday essentials, and they want you to give them a $250 iTunes gift card. So this would only fool people that didn't understand that an iTunes gift card isn't going to pay your groceries. But still, people would be fooled by this. Criminals are tweaking us They're con artists. They know what will scare us, and they will keep trying. And they will throw out lots and lots and lots of these messages to lots and lots and lots of people, and some will stick. So it's worth it to them. And with more phishing adventures, here we have one that also includes a data breach. News came out recently about something that Service New South Wales had suffered. They had an incident that started from a phishing scam. The phishing scam was discovered in April this year, and it targeted their employees. The phishing scam was successful, and then they later discovered a data breach in May 2020. So the phishing itself, scamming employees, led to exfiltration of data, and they discovered that around 186,000 customers' data was stolen, which was close to 4 million items, including photocopies of driver's licenses, car registration, and birth certificates. So that's a huge amount of information that is stolen, and it derived from a phishing scam originally. Remember, though, that anyone can become a victim of cybercrime. There is no point in victim blaming because the fault is with the criminals that did this, the criminals that scammed these people, the criminals that stole this information. The fallout from scams such as phishing can be huge. I really feel sorry for Service New South Wales and the employees that were scammed by this. The fallout is so huge to the businesses, to the employees scammed, to customers, the potential for ID theft. This started from phishing. Phishing is not a small problem, it's a big problem. Let's turn the page now and read the sad, sad story of the fake Zoom, or FOOM, if you will. Since the global pandemic, people have found themselves in lockdown situations, quarantine, not being able to actually go to their physical workplaces or schools, or not being able to see their friends and family. This is where applications such as Zoom have gained popularity. Zoom has been used for online meetings and seminars, lectures, schools. It allows for remote work and collaboration with colleagues. It's used for exercise classes such as yoga and gym, and also virtual socializing where people get together on Zoom to drink their coffee and watch each other on Zoom drinking coffee. But criminals know this. They're very adept at reading situations, and they know that people are using Zoom and downloading Zoom. So what they have done is create faked Zoom installers on websites that spoof vendors or spoof Zoom. These faked Zoom executables actually do download Zoom, and they do work just as Zoom is because it actually is Zoom software. But it contains a few extras that nobody at Zoom had ever thought it would. The criminals download with the Zoom installer remote access Trojans, cryptominers to drain your CPU while they gather the Monero or the Bitcoin, and malicious adware. So that if you downloaded one of these faked Zoom installers, you could get served up a lot of ads that when you clicked into them actually downloaded more malicious software. So criminals are adept at exploiting situations just as they are adept at exploiting vulnerabilities on software. And from Zoom, we go to ransomware. In June 2020, a large Australian beverage company called Lion suffered a huge ransomware incident, and the criminals also threatened to post stolen files online. Lion has been issuing updates on their website, which I have put there if you want to read more about it, but they took their systems offline to stop their networks becoming more exposed to the malware, and it took a long time for them to get up to date with their deliveries and their suppliers and their consumers, and they had to install a lot of manual tasks to take over from where automation was, so it caused a lot of disruption to them. Toll Group was hit twice by ransomware this year, once by Maltu ransomware in February and Nephilim in May. Fisher and Paykel were also hit by Nephilim, this time in around in May, early June. I've left the links there if anyone wants to read more. Ransomware is often spread by malicious attachments or links in emails. So like a phishing email, the emails trick you into downloading and installing the malware that causes ransomware. It's also spread via drive-by downloading, so a person visits a website and the malware downloads. If we help raise awareness of this kind of thing and what to do in case of an incident of ransomware, it helps companies either not get it in the first place, or if they do get it, know what to do. So what about a tech solution? I love technology. I really loved technology when I was a child. I used to make robots out of cardboard boxes. But sadly, there is no solely tech solution to solving cybercrime. Like we mentioned in the earlier pages of our comic book, cybercrime is an umbrella term for many, many, many different crime types that use or go against technology. There isn't one type of tech solution that can support this, and there's also no one type of human solution that can support this. My opinion, and my opinion only, is that we need a combined effort of both a technical solution and a human-centric solution to come together in a symbiotic relationship, if you will, to help work against cybercrime. Cybercrime evolves really, really fast, and it can go faster than technical security mechanisms can be developed or configured. Remember, cybercrime can be backed by huge criminal organisations with lots and lots and lots of money for research and development that all of us as the good guys just don't have. Whenever there is a crime targeting a human, there really needs to be a human as well as a technical solution, because it could be playing on psychology like we looked at the phishing scams. No technical solution on its own can protect us from all cybercrime types. Now, also, this is a very important thing. Anyone can be a victim of cybercrime. Nobody is immune. It doesn't matter how clever you think you are or how long you've worked in this space. Anyone can be a victim of cybercrime. And of course, we can't security patch a human. That brings us to the very important part of this comic. How can we all be cybercrime fighting superheroes? And I'm talking about all users of technology. Doesn't matter what age they are, doesn't matter where they come from, doesn't matter what language they speak, doesn't matter what their education or interests or work are. How can we all be cybercrime fighting superheroes? With the COVID-19 pandemic, there's been this phrase herd immunity bandied around. Herd immunity, in a way, is something that you could apply here, in that if everybody did their bit to fight cybercrime, it would make our community and our nation a harder target for criminals. So we would kind of get cybercrime herd immunity. But if everyone did their bit to fight cybercrime, if they used technology and when they used it more safely and they helped their friends and their peers use it more safely, then everyone is doing their bit to make our nation a harder target against cybercrime. And because we're doing that, we are now cybercrime fighting superheroes. But really, how do we do this? I have a little selection of characters here. They are just a small cross section, trying to make a point here where I have two little kids and a ballet dancer and a hairdresser and an elderly lady and a school teacher who looks a bit smarmy there. But these characters are trying to show you that none of these people look like they actually work in the cyber industry, but all of these people can do something to help fight cybercrime. Every little bit helps to fight cybercrime. If everyone in the community who is an end user, and let's face it, that's basically all of us, unless we're hermits that have no electricity and completely off the grid, if every one of us did something towards fighting cybercrime, it would make our community and our nation a harder target against cybercrime. Fighting cybercrime is not solely the province of your IT teams or of law enforcement or your intelligence communities. Everyone that uses technology has a responsibility to do something to make the cybers safer. So in this instance, we have our teacher here. He teaches primary school and he provides age appropriate information to his class about being safer online. So he's helping to introduce the culture to his children that it's normal, everyday things that you do something to be safer online. So his school children can be safer online. We have a hairdresser here who can make sure that the software he uses is in his salon is patched. It's a small thing, but it's something towards making his hairdressing salon and other people safer from cybercrime. This elderly lady, didn't have the internet in her day, but she makes sure that her grandchildren understand the need for strong passwords. We have a ballet dancer here who her choreographer was nearly scammed, nearly paid an invoice that was fake. So she made sure that the choreographer knew how to report this scam and she warned her friends about it. So she's doing her bit to fight cybercrime, making her little community safer from cybercrime, making her little community a harder target for cybercrime to be successful. We have our little children here. So this little youngster is saying that if something or someone online makes me uncomfortable, I tell a trusted adult. And then we have a little boy with a dog who's a cybercrime fighting superhero because he helps his friends to be careful about who they talk to online. And he makes sure they know that not everyone online is who they say they are. So of all these things, there's only one here that is a technical solution, is the hairdresser who has his software patched. But even to know to patch his software is an awareness thing, so he's aware that he has to do it. So see all these people, they're cybercrime fighters, all of them. They are hardening their community against cybercrime. They're all doing their bit to support a safer online community. So where to from here? In Australia, we have places we can report cybercrime. If there is online abuse, online bullying, the eSafety Commission is the place to go. You can report cybercrime at Report Cyber, which is run by the ACSC, the Cyber Gov AU. Scams can be reported to the ACCC at Scamwatch. And inappropriate online behaviour towards children, there's an AFP form that you can report it. Remember, however, if there is ever an immediate threat to life or risk of harm, to call 000. Don't do a web form. Call the emergency number. There are plenty of places to get information. I have just put a few here. This is not an exhaustive list, so please don't complain about me later to say I've missed something. This is just to get you started. So ACSC has cyber.gov.au and that now incorporates Stay Smart Online, and there's lots of information on there for individuals and businesses. AusCERT has a blog. So AusCERT has member subscribers, but it also has a blog that anyone can read, and that blog has a lot of useful information. The eSafety Commissioner, that site has a lot of information about staying safer online. There's the Think You Know organisation that provides age-appropriate information about staying safer online to small school groups. And of course, Scamwatch has information about scams. Everyone can be a cybercrime fighting hero and champion against cybercrime. To harden our communities and our nation as a target against cybercrime, we all need to work together. Working together makes us strong cybercrime fighting superheroes. But to work together, we actually have to have information and keep ourselves aware. And it's not just the duty of our IT teams or the ACSC or AusCERT or the eSafety Commissioner or the police to keep us informed. We have to keep ourselves informed. If we're using this technology, then we need to understand what we're using. If there is cybercrime around, we need to understand that it exists and that it isn't a mysterious hoodie-wearing hacker rubbing his hands together in glee, that there are criminal organisations that are doing this. We need to have an understanding so we know who we are fighting. We can be heroes. We can all be cybercrime fighting superheroes. We need to ensure that any information we have about scams, if we are allowed to share it, that we do. We need to ensure that our children or the children that we mentor or the children that we teach understand a safer way to use the online community. We need to ensure that we report things appropriately. And if we are allowed to share intelligence, that we share that intelligence with the right people so that something can be done about it. We need all of you to be superheroes, cybercrime fighting superheroes. We can all be heroes. Just to sum up this little comic book here, cybercrime is big business. Cybercrime is an umbrella term. There's all different types of things under that umbrella term. That's why there cannot be one type of technical solution for this. Lots of different types of people are involved in cybercrime, from huge, big criminal organisations to your opportunists. We have to stop thinking that there is a hacker in a hoodie doing this stuff. If we don't understand what cybercrime actually is, how can we protect ourselves? Cybercrime is another crime type, in fact, many different crime types. There is no solely tech or solely human-based solution. Technology and humans need to work together, not like Terminator because they weren't working together there, but technology used appropriately and humans made aware and humans knowing how to use the technology to help work on a solution. All end users, including us, because we are end users as well, need to use cyberspace safely. We need to use it with safety and security in mind. Every user of technology, regardless of their age, education, skills, or jobs, can be cybercrime fighting superheroes. We all need to stay informed. We all need to stay safe. I want to thank all of you that actually tuned into the session and those that actually made it to the end. I know, as I said at the start, there will be people saying, I know all this information, it's nothing new. But again, I pose the question to you, if it is nothing new, why is cybercrime still a problem? It is within all of us, regardless of our backgrounds or interests or anything, to become cybercrime fighting superheroes. And if some people know more about cybercrime or more about technology than others, then I think it's our responsibility, our duty, to help people understand cybercrime and help them understand how to be more secure, regardless of where we're working. It is important, it's an imperative that we all take the responsibility as end users to make the cyberspace safer for everyone. I also want to thank the AusCERT conference organisers and AusCERT itself, because this is an amazing, innovative conference. During the global pandemic, things can get quite depressing. The fact that AusCERT continued and made a conference is amazing. So thanks everyone. Cybercrime fighters, assemble.
Oh, there we go. My camera just went off again. How wonderful. If anybody has any questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A. Otherwise, we have about a 7-minute break until the next session starts here.
How do you convince your parents to change their passwords? Well, that's the thing. I have no idea. My parents have never used computers because they're so old. But I would say they need to change their passwords, because if a criminal got their information, then they would lose things. So I don't know what your parents use or how old they are, but maybe share with them information such as criminals stealing bank account details and getting into emails and things. And yes, what I would like to do, Gary, is actually have my actual slides, like the ones that the PDF version, which was the real slide deck, and it has my full narration on there. And I'm very happy for anyone to have that. And thanks, Sashi. And thanks, Paul. It's very sweet of you.
I'll try and drop the full version in the chat in a little bit. So Mandy, how do you convince people it won't happen to me? Which is a fun retort that almost everybody in every walk of life seems to come back with, unless they actually understand that it's actually for everybody.
Yeah, well, I'm always saying that anyone can become a victim of cybercrime, and I have spoken before at conferences about how I nearly became a victim of cybercrime. It was when I was still with my old agency, Valdemar, when I worked ACIC, and I was working from the JCSC. I had 3 computers up. One I was doing forensics on, one was my work one was a personal one, and my father kept ringing me from the residential care facility he's at, because he was waiting for some post from Veterans Affairs in England that was going to come to me. So I had things from all sides. I was a remote manager, so my teams were actually calling me. It was when my boss had actually gone on leave, so I was my boss as well as myself, as well as managing my team. There was things coming me all ways, and I got an email to my personal email saying, your post has been delayed. Please click here to verify your details. And I nearly did it, because I was just so overwrought with work, and my dad kept nagging me about his parcel from Veterans Affairs in England, but I nearly did it. And then I went, hang on, it's coming from DHL. It wouldn't be from DHL if it was from England, and that's what stopped me. So I nearly fell victim to cybercrime. anyone can fall victim to cybercrime. It doesn't matter how much you know or how much you actually work in the industry. Anyone can fall victim.
Sorry, I was on mute on my actual mic. So I was saying that's what I was hoping to hear, because even in this industry, everybody can suffer. Even if they're a security expert, they can be caught. It's something that a lot of people don't like to talk about.
John said his parents used to
Well,
prepare their passwords and he's in his 60s. I'm not in my 60s, but my parents are much older, or they had me when I migrated to England, to Australia from England. So yeah, my mum actually may have used a computer because she worked with Bletchley for a while during World War II, but certainly not the kinds of computers we use now. Oh, the response handles ITT. If I get fished, it's not my fault. Everybody's responsibility is cybersecurity. As per my slide deck, my little cartoon people were doing something about their own security and their cybercrime. It's not anyone's fault that you fished, because it's not about victim blaming, but it is everyone's responsibility. And I won't recommend any, because I have worked in the government for many years, as Valdemar knows, and we don't recommend things because it may fire on us. So even now I work at university, I'm not going to recommend anything. Sorry.
well, if nobody else has any further questions, on behalf of everybody and AusCERT, they've got one more. Oh no, they're just getting cleared. I'd like to thank Mandy for a great presentation. I'll share her full slide deck shortly, and we've got a 2-minute break before we start the next one. So I'm going to go off screen for a bit, and we'll be back shortly.